Hey, everybody. I have some ideas I really wanted to throw out there to anybody that's been watching these to see what you all thought and see if we can find more ways to be helpful with some of this diabetes information. Um, a lot of this has stemmed out of the fact that I've been helping a friend recently who has type 1. And through the process of we share our Dexcom graph with one another. And we both happen to use Omnipod. She's on the Omnipod Dash, whereas I'm on the Omnipod 5. But we share the Omnipod, and basically, I've had pretty good management for the past, well, really since I was diagnosed. And so I feel like I've developed a really good sense of what's going on and how to manage appropriately, thanks to a lot of the resources that I found online. And my friend is having a hard time. She's had, relatively high A1C. She has pretty high average blood glucose readings, and she's got a fear of insulin. And so we thought that by sharing our stats with one another and really communicating on a frequent basis about diabetes, it would maybe help her develop some comfort in not only seeing what I was doing, but seeing how the results went, seeing where I made adjustments, and then also me watching her when she starts to make changes to see where things are going haywire, see where things are going as expected. And it's been really helpful. So kind of contrast that with when we go to a doctor or an educator, and you get a little bit of information, but you're not really seeing what they're doing. Even with a podcast, they might tell you something very useful and helpful, but it's difficult, I find, to then go back to your own life and manage diabetes, which is such a granular condition, and to really have a good sense of what you should be doing or what somebody else might do in that situation, or just ideas to bounce off of. Sometimes simply just seeing somebody else do something is helpful. And so my idea with this series, or whatever we want to call it, is kind of do one of two things. One would be me doing regular updates in which I look at my graphs and my data for a specific day and simply just talk through what you're seeing, why I did certain things, where I did well, where I could improve. And the other would be potentially even just like setting up scheduled meetings with people from the community and recording those sessions in which they do the same thing. Maybe they would feel comfortable sharing their data, and we look through it and try to figure out where their problem areas are and brainstorm that together. Now, it's not like I can give medical advice. I'm not a diabetes educator. I'm not certified to do any of that. So this would be more of just like as a casual, like, let's get together and display this stuff that's oftentimes under the hood and not shared really anywhere, and see if that's helpful. If nothing else, for other people to be reassured that there's challenges for all of us and that things will go haywire, or that things can be improved or fixed or figured out. So kind of just exposing the visual data that is oftentimes just not acknowledged. I guess I don't know why, but it's just not. So that's generally my idea. So I would love to know what anybody thinks about that, or if they'd be interested in participating. And like I said, I'm going to try to do this regularly about myself. I try to make it short, so it's not just this boring, long, dragged out thing. So this is my first one with no planning. So I'll share my data real quick from yesterday and talk through it. No real goal with this is just to, again, explain my thought process and then base my thought process versus what actually happened and what I did and what I would do better next time. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so I am now sharing. I just pulled up my Dexcom Clarity report and my Glooko report from yesterday, which was Saturday. So it was kind of an unusual day for me. It was not my best day. I had some out of range above and below, and so I'll just talk through it. So this is Dexcom Clarity, just for anybody that's not familiar with it. You can log in, you can look at a series of days or just an individual day. So here's just Monday. I'm sorry, here's Saturday. So you can see, first of all, let me preface and back up. This was the first day of a new sensor, and I always have a hard time when I'm on a new sensor. It tends to just be a little bit jumpy. It'll oftentimes go from pretty high to pretty low, which definitely drives me crazy. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, we look here overnight. I'm much higher than I would like to be. I'm in the 170 range. I believe that I woke up in the middle of the night and I corrected. So I think what happened, and I can go over to Glooko to look at this, is right around, let's see. So you can see here that this is that same time range on the Omnipod. Overnight, I was really hovering right around 180. I thought I gave myself a correction, but I guess I didn't. And that's the benefit of, I guess, the Omnipod 5 is it was trying to correct that high. So eventually it did come down. I was cruising. So let's go back to Dexcom. So here we are at 3 a.m., jumping up to about 7:30. So here I just wanted to clarify. So I had a pretty intense workout at 9 a.m. yesterday. It was like an hour-long HIIT training, like high intensity interval training. And so I intentionally spiked up my blood sugar for that workout. Let me take a step back. It was 8 o'clock workout, not 9 o'clock. So I intentionally brought my blood sugar up, but as you can tell, it went a little too high. So in my workout, I was kind of at the 209, 200 range, which is higher than I would like to be. But this drop here is coming down a lot from the post-workout. So really, essentially, once I've burned through all of the sugar, the blood sugar starts to really come down pretty quickly. And I believe I actually went low. I did. So I went all the way to 65. Now, if I go back to Glooko here, you'll see that around this time, it was giving me basal. So one of the things that I do that's not ideal is that when I'm working out, I don't put on automated mode. For anybody who knows about the Omnipod, you know that there is an automated mode, which can be really useful for exercise. I find that if I turn off auto mode, I just go high and it never comes down. So I leave the system on as it normally would be, even when I'm working out. And what happens is if I intentionally spike my blood sugar at any point, the system is seeing that it doesn't know that I'm exercising and it's trying to correct that by giving me basal corrections. And so what happens sometimes is you have to be a little bit careful because after the workout, in my case, you can actually sink down into like the 60s because I have all that basal insulin in me, which combined with the post-workout sort of hormones and just the exhaustion and the muscles being extra sensitive can lead to a low. So I believe in this case, I took some glucose tablets because the other piece of this was that I was really not sitting still at all yesterday. As soon as I got back from the workout, I changed, I took a shower, and then I went over to, I went to my fire department. I was helping out with some things. So I was moving around, doing a lot of stuff. And you can see I was kind of struggling here. So I ate a bunch of glucose tablets, came back up, got into like a nice comfortable range. And then I believe it was around 12, a little bit before 12:30 that I ate again. So it was right at 11:45. I ate a smoothie, like a fruit smoothie with protein and some other carb-based stuff in that. And then I had 2 pieces of toast with this vegetarian butter that I use, which is delicious. But anyway, I dosed 65 grams, which I would normally do because it is a 65-gram meal for me. And I believe that's usually, yeah, so 4.25 units is what I took for this meal. So the meal was at 11:45. We're back right here. And you can see that I really didn't spike after the meal. In fact, came down yet again. So I had another low about an hour after my meal. Now, I hope I'm not going all over the place and this doesn't make sense, but the thing that I would do differently here is I know better than to take a full dose after I have a very significant workout, plus I'm moving around all day. So if you look back here, this was my big workout and I came back up, I had some glucose tablets and I was really just kind of hovering here, but this was just from the glucose tablets. So I didn't, basically, when you exercise, especially very intensely, you become very insulin sensitive. And in my case, I need probably 25 to 35% less insulin in that next dose, or maybe even in the next 2 doses following that workout. Now, in this situation, I was kind of in a rush. I wasn't thinking about it, and I really just didn't want to go high because I actually had a long drive to take after I was going to eat this meal, and I tend to go high during a drive. So I intentionally wanted to be extra aggressive because I didn't want to be dealing with the high the whole time. But instead, the opposite happens. I took the full dose and I came back down and I went low. And this is actually when I was driving. So it's not really safe to drive when you're low. So I didn't have any physical symptoms, but I was eating a lot of glucose tablets at this point because I did not want to be dealing with this as I was driving. I did have, I guess, a little bit of a headache, but no sort of jitteriness or anything else like that. And thankfully it came back up. The rest of the day is a little bit weird because I was out golfing. So there's a little bit of adrenaline, but then there's also like a lot of walking around and moving. And so you can see again here, I got a little bit low. It's kind of I was struggling with lows all day, to be honest with you. When I finally got home at, let's see, it was about 8 o'clock. I had a 50 carb meal and that was, what did I have? I had some meatballs and like air fried potatoes and things like that. Now here I was a little bit smarter, and I said to myself, I have been moving all day. It took about 14,000 steps plus my hour-long workout. I said, I've been moving all day. I'm not doing what I did at lunch again. I'm going to take less insulin. So you can see here for 50-gram meal, I only had 2.3 units of insulin. And I did start to hover up a little bit, but I never got low. I did a correction. I think this is a fake carb correction. I do this sometimes where I'll put in an extra 15 units of carbs rather than like an actual insulin dosage. And then I did a couple of other small corrections here, which I often do if I'm trending in the wrong direction, or if I'm drifting in a way that I don't want to. I'll do a couple of more corrections, and that's what you see right here. So I kind of leveled off here, and what you don't see is the next day. I did come back down to a nice range, and I was at about 100 when I woke up. So that's kind of one day. There's a lot, obviously, of different pieces to this, but I think the main things that I want to consider and highlight for anybody else that's struggling with it is, workouts always have an impact during the workout and then after the workout. And I think it's very helpful to be mindful of that, so that you can make appropriate, decisions. Like I did not do appropriate decisions here, but next time maybe I will. And this would be the idea of this. Just go over a given day. It's no big deal. There's no specific things to be learned. It's just analyze what I did. Hopefully somebody else sees this too and says, oh, I've had similar things. I didn't know what that was. And we'll just kind of go through. So with that, I will stop this video. And like I said, if anybody's interested in this, just let me know, and we can, set up some time where we do this for you. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.